This is Vic Azim here with my co-host.
Nick Arcanadu.
You've drank so much Mountain Dew that it's became part of your last name.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, hey, cheers to you, sir. Cheers to you.
You know what? Cheers.
For me, of course, it's the Dunkin' Donuts coffee. We're continuing today with our Evil Dead series retrospective. We've done part 1, part 2. That means we went to a cabin, we've came back to a cabin, and now we're going medieval.
To be fair, we never actually left the cabin. We just had a recap that made no damn sense.
This is true. We have a recap of a recap of a recap because this series loves recaps.
Well, at least this recap is a little easier to get behind than the first recap. But I do got a question for you.
Yeah.
So, the hand. I did not see that hand this whole movie, which tells me the hand somehow stayed, because I never saw it die either. That hand somehow stayed in our world.
In the 1980s.
How many people do you think that hand has killed by now?
Are we saying the hand just floated around the cabin, or did he make his way back to civilization?
I'm assuming he probably made his way back to civilization and wants to kill people. Pretty sure to get bored.
So the hand takes Manhattan.
It's an ADHD hand.
The hand takes Manhattan. The actress who play Linda in this recap is Bridget Fonda.
I wonder why she looks familiar.
Who actually is a famous actress from the 90s. She was a big Evil Dead fan, so she requested a cameo. And
Well, Bridget Fonda, I know her from Kiss of the Dragon. I know her from Single White Female.
she's a big actress from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Big fan of Evil Dead. Asked Sam Raimi, can I have a cameo? He said, yeah, we do need a new Linda. So here she is for 2 minutes to scream as the evil comes to the window and takes her.
Now I kind of wish she played Sheila instead of...
I like the actress who played Sheila, though. I don't know.
Yeah, well... Can we get over the fact that this recap we get, by the end of it, completely does not match how Evil Dead 2 actually ended?
Yes, indeed. We're going to have a full-on retcon here of the ending of Evil Dead 2 because Ash drops from the sky into the 1300s with his car. But in Evil Dead 2, he
was celebrated.
He shot a Deadite down and then was celebrated as the new king. We're going to get to that point, but we're going to do a much longer thing to get there, basically. Because he's immediately encountered by an army, not the Army of Darkness, but an army of human beings.
And their leader is Arthur.
Arthur. Now, I'll tell you what.
Not the mouse.
Eventually in this movie, I'll come to appreciate and like Arthur, but these opening scenes, not a big fan because he has a wise man who immediately upon seeing Ash, now, mind you, remember, in Evil Dead 2, the Book of the Dead, we saw a picture of Ash with the chainsaw as the prophesized one.
Actually, I just got a question. So, that was in the Book of the Dead and Evil Dead 2.
Yep.
Explain to me how the wise man would know this prophecy if he's never seen the Book of the Dead.
I thought the same thing. The wise man speaks as if he knows about the book in detail. Now, what that tells me is that he has seen the book, but the book was either like taken from him, taken from the kingdom, or removed or something. Or he had a wise man before him who it was been passed down and foretold, basically. Either way, the wise man quickly is like, just with glancing at Ash for 2 seconds, says, yep, chosen one. As prophesized.
Hold up. No, he says, I believe he is.
The prophecy says, coming from the sky. Ash literally drops out of the sky. First of all, how do they even explain, like, where he, like, okay, literally came from the sky. The wise man quickly says, prophecy chosen one. Arthur, why do you have a wise man on the payroll? If you're not going to listen to him at all, what is the purpose of the wise man giving you advice and you just being like, no, likely one of Henry's men. Well, okay, Arthur, just ignore your wise men. Go ahead.
See, I feel like the wise man part would have made more sense had the wise men not be there until after they get to the castle and throw him in the pit. And the wise man's like, y'all do know we need him, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you trust the wise man enough to where he's with you with your army as you travel. Like, you're asking his advice, and he's like, I'm giving you an answer. He's the prophesized one. You're like, into the pit with him. Like, I don't understand what Arthur's doing here. Like, let's say you're the ruler of the kingdom, right? Mm-hmm. And you know, he says at the beginning that there's an evil amongst my people. So they already know that, like, they're being attacked by evil. Even if there's a 5% chance that he is the prophesied chosen one, are you really just going to sentence him to death? Like,
I do got a question. So there's the evil's coming. And they've already mentioned that there's Deadites already around. That no one needed to open the Book of the Dead for the Deadites to be around. So you're telling me that with this evil that is extremely hard to kill, and you're going to fight amongst each other?
Yeah, now that's funny because we see basically at the beginning that already Henry the Red's been captured and his men have been captured, but we get a hint of basically that they've been at war and feuding pretty much, although they're both dealing with evil. So I kind of believe it. This happened in Game of Thrones too, where it's like, even when there's like an evil force, the politics of the still wanting to take over that kingdom is still there, kind of. They're making Henry look like the good guy because they're just like, he's like, you attack me first, and the evil's after me too. And Arthur's like, your people are no better than the scum down there in the pit. I'm like, is Arthur the villain here? Jesus.
I was half expecting there to be like some kind of religious text, like Henry isn't Catholic, so all of a sudden this group of Catholics just attacked him. But we never get that.
They make it seem like Henry's like a chill dude. I'm like, why is he at war with this guy? So,
but Henry does still do something that's a asshole-ish thing.
In this scene or later on?
Later on.
All right, so Ash is captured despite the wise man's warning. We're taking him back. And because he's associated with Henry's people, the town people
automatically assume he's evil
and beat the shit out of him.
Yep. Including Sheila.
Sheila, who's just been told that her brother died during battle, has a reason to be mad, but instead of like, okay, you have a line of people coming in and your brother died and you know it's from the people of the red, right? You see a couple people with the red uniforms on, and you see Ash, and your thing is like, I want to beat up Ash. I don't see her beating up Henry.
So you know
why did she attack Henry?
You know why? No one mentioned to her. Usually when it comes to lines like that, whoever's in front is usually the ringleader. Arthur didn't exactly specify to her that Ash is not their leader.
Ash just gets beat like the worst of like the town people are treating him like he's just, I don't know, but like I don't even think Henry got that bad, but anyways.
This is also where we get the Henry being an asshole, because when they realize they're about to be thrown into a pit, all of a sudden Ash looks at Henry and is like, "Can you let them know I'm not with you?" He goes, "I don't think they'll listen."
I thought that was reasonable because
But Henry didn't even try.
Here's the thing. If you're Arthur and the people, to me, distinguishing that Ash is not part of Henry the Man is common sense. You look at them, you look at Ash, you hear Ash talk, you're like, he doesn't have that accent that they all have. He doesn't look like them. He's saying, I'm not with them. Nothing would make sense that he'd be part of Henry's Man.
When people get captured, even the guys in red, I guarantee, were telling them, I'm not with them.
I don't know, maybe, but Ash just felt like, hey, I've never met these assholes before. So I'm just saying, even that, it seems common sense, but it's still Arthur's calling the shots. And to me, again, if you're being attacked by evil, it's irresponsible to be like, okay, I don't know anything about this dude, just kill him. It's just, and their wise men saying maybe he can help. I just think it was a leap. But let's talk about one thing first, though.
The pit?
So the first guy that goes in the pit, one of Henry's men.
We get Mountain Dew everywhere.
What happened to him? He goes down there for 5 seconds, and then everybody's just like, you have silence, and then he just gets eviscerated? I don't understand. That was like a lot of blood that came out.
I mean, it's the same thing that happened in part 2.
Yeah, but this is more like this is like the Johnny Depp death from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1.
So anyway, this is where this is the only scene I remember differently. Everything else I remember pretty easily. This scene I remember differently because when Ash goes in the pit, I remember him fighting that first Deadite, which he kills. And then what I remember is an even bigger motherfucker. Now I'm talking about like almost like the thing from Hellraiser 1, just coming down a hallway trying to get Ash, and Ash was able to still kill him using the wall.
Well,
I didn't think,
half right.
For some reason, I don't remember the second Deadite coming after him was another humanoid.
Well, first, let me say this. One thing we should mention is that Ash falls in the pit because, again, Sheila throws a damn rock at his head.
Yes.
Which basically is like a death blow for a lot of people.
Yes.
And now he's got a concussion and has to go down the pit.
Yes.
He's already screwed. You know, I said last week, too, I've always said that I think the Deadites realize Ash is the chosen one and treat him differently. All right, here's for example. The first guy went in the pit, immediately eviscerated. This Deadite sees Ash and, again, decides to beat the shit out of him. Like, just starts punching him in the face. I'm like, okay, that's clear evidence that whatever this evil is just likes tormenting Ash and doesn't even try to kill him. Just like, You eviscerate the first guy, and with Ash, you're like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of him.
Well,
Come on.
We never really heard a whole lot about the prophecy, but seeing as how Ash technically is the reason the evil gets unleashed in the first place, tells me that the prophecy still has him actually releasing the evil before he stops it. Because notice kind of after he releases it, that's when things start getting a little hairy for him.
Yeah, I just think the Deadites interaction with Ash is always like there's an awareness of like we know who we're dealing with, because they always treat him differently than they treat other people. Other people, they just like, oh, we're gonna kill them, we're gonna possess them. With Ash, it's always like they cautiously beat the shit out of him and try to laugh at him and joke with him and stuff and torment him in a totally different way. Now let's talk about the spikes in the pit. These spikes take 15 minutes to move in.
Did you notice that the spikes
they keep restarting. Like they start and then like he does like 15 minutes of action and they just keep like restarting. I'm like, huh?
I think they were fucking with him. I think even the knights were messing with him. It's like, hey, just keep bringing them back out and then bringing them back in.
Yeah, because there's the chain thing that's like almost like an easy escape. You just like you latch onto it and it's gonna take you up.
Why did he then use his belt?
I don't know. Did maybe okay? Could be two things. His hand could have been very like wet and slippery, so maybe he didn't trust his hand to hold on.
He was using a leather belt.
Weird point. He could have just grabbed and held on basically.
Right. Like he did with his belt.
I don't know, but it sure looked cool for him to like throw his belt up and immediately it clutches onto it.
Which also would never happen. Not a belt anyway. If it was a whip like Indiana Jones, maybe.
Also, he got very lucky. He kicked the thing off right as the spikes finally enclose in him.
Now,
finally.
You just mentioned that the spikes closed in on the Deadite. Deadite should be dead, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's going to be something that doesn't make sense in a second. Apparently, the Deadite had good leaping ability because I think he must have jumped out the last second too. Because otherwise,
that we never noticed.
What? Maybe those spikes were like a figment of Ash's imagination.
Well, it can't be because he killed one Deadite on him.
That's true. Yeah. All right, hold on. Before we get there. All right, yeah. Ash comes out, and now everybody is all of a sudden Arthur's intimidated. Now he's believing, oh, this might be the chosen
Well, he also
one.
got knocked the fuck out.
He did because his shoelaces were untied, and he made the mistake of actually looking down.
It's like, dude, you're a knight. You don't even have shoelaces.
So punches him, punks out some other knight,
releases Henry's men,
which I think again shows Ash is a good guy because he's kind of just like without really knowing what's going on. He's just like, you guys go free, pretty much. He's gonna need Henry later on. This actually ends up being a really good move. So,
and then we hear a gunshot, and all of a sudden that demon that got crushed in the spikes.
He's back. He's back.
How?
What happened was somebody accidentally pressed the button to undo the spike. So now they back up now. The demon was in the middle crushed, and he's like, I'm still alive. And then he jumped. Now, how did he? I don't know.
Well, that's not even. Well, yeah. Well,
he was crushed probably. But.
Well, here's another egregious thing. Who had Ash's gun? Because we didn't see anyone carrying it. It wasn't still in his little knapsack on his back.
Now, that's where I don't know. I have to go back. When he went back in time, even if we go by part 2, I assume in part 2 he did have the gun on him.
Yeah.
Okay. So it did go back in time with him. The question is, when he gets there, is there a deleted scene or something where... Because my theory would be that, like, okay, they took away his chainsaw. Somebody took away his gun then, too. And then somewhere in the moment of Arthur taking out his sword, Ash either relocated his gun or the wise men gave it back to him or something. Because the wise men...
Gave him his chainsaw back.
The wise man clearly is on his side because he's like, I know my people are stupid and keep trying to kill you, but I think you're clearly the prophesied chosen one.
Well, again, it's weird because when I was watching this movie, after that initial scene of him being captured, you don't see that gun again up until he shoots the blade broken. And I'm just like, so where did this gun come from? I assume they left it with the car.
I'm glad he had the gun. Otherwise, I think the gun is actually the final thing to make him the king now because...
Well, no one's going to want to mess with a boomstick.
As impressive as Find the Deadite was, I think they still have weapons to take him out. But with the gun, now he's definitely the man.
How many bullets did he bring with him?
Not that, but even though I love the whole S-Mart speech to the people,
It was corny as fuck.
did the gun come from S-Mart, or was that like
He
there
said
in,
it did.
in Evil Dead 2 though? Did he say it?
Well, he for some reason
that's the gun from Evil Dead 2, isn't
well,
it?
yeah, it is. And the
That
gun from Evil Dead 2 was in the cabin.
He's making it seem like he,
Bought it from S-Mart.
yeah, he's like top of the line. He's describing it. I kept thinking, did he bring the gun to the cabin? Because he's making it seem like that's his personal gun he brought from S-Mart.
If I remember correctly, was it the very first movie? They found the gun also with all the stuff in the cabin that with everything else they found.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, his character is different from his Part 2 character. Like, his Part 2 character, I don't think would be carrying a shotgun. So that even, like, doesn't make sense, right? So he wouldn't have brought it to the cabin with him, I don't think. But anyway, that's all. The continuity in these movies are very, very loose, and the rules are very loose.
Demon old lady.
Demon old lady.
So it's obvious that the Deadites don't need that freaking book to possess people.
Yes. So the book is now. Again, the rules are very loose. The wise man says to Ash, "Hey, get this book for us because we can send you back in time." But he's also like, "But we need the book too because
We need to stop the evil.
there's passages in there that can send the evil back or something." So it's something more. He wants the book to put a stop to the evil. There's some passage that he can read that will stop the evil. But yeah, the Deadites are already here. So something happened before this to unleash the evil that we don't know about. Because there's time travel here, some version of Ash probably went back in time and
Fucked it up.
unleashed the evil or something.
And then died there.
Maybe, yeah, who knows? Like I said, there's a big timeline loop going on here we don't know about.
Well, there is a few things. There is a few questions I got with this scene.
Yep.
Again, I already asked this one. How many bullets does this guy bring? How does a double barrel shotgun shoot 3 bullets without being reloaded?
Well, now that's a 90s action movie cliche at work here because the whole thing in 90s action movies were you would see like this happen with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Van Damme. The whole thing you would laugh at is just the idea that, yo, these guns never get reloaded. They have unlimited ammunition. What the hell? Guns did not make sense in those action movies back then. So.
And honestly, I'm just going to ignore how the hand works in this one because there's no way they had anyone was smart enough to attach a metal prosthetic hand to a bunch of tendons to make that hand work.
Well, I noticed that in terms of technology, Ash suddenly becomes very intelligent when he has to like put together something from a technical standpoint. He becomes a very mechanical person apparently. So I'm gonna go with that because I mean he has to have a hand. So
yeah, well, so he finally agrees. Yes, I'll go get your damn book so I can go home.
And the wise man says, "Listen, when you get the book, you gotta say these 3 words. Repeat the words. I got your damn words. You just sent me back in time." I'm like, well, do you got the words? Because like you committed the memory that quickly.
Well,
like,
first things first. Ash versus Mini Ash is
him on the horse. You do get the one thing where we get the classic
the
point of view evil in the
chasing
woods
him.
chase scene. And this might be the closest the movie gets to like a horror scene. And the whole windmill thing kind of seems horish. But then that's immediately taken back to comedy with little Ashes.
just beating the crap out of him, stabbing him with a fork. Also, if something is hot enough to where your face sticks to it and you have to scrape it off, you would have burn marks on your face and other injuries. How did his face come back pristine?
Because it's a movie. It's Evil Dead.
I think Ash is still possessed.
This reminds me of like the Ash with his hand scene in Part 2 where it's just like such good like you gotta give props to Bruce Campbell for his physical acting. It's like there's a lot going on that he has to react to. And a lot of it, I'm sure, is just like stuff that you really can't react to. It's like,
well, yeah, because obviously they first had to film Bruce Campbell doing this scene in like what 6 different ways.
a little, yeah. Like, it's always fun to see effects back then before because you know it's not all computers. Everything's practical. So
yeah,
it's like,
let's say everything. The only computer thing is putting big Ash camera shot with all the other little Ashes and then splicing in the little Ashes.
Yeah, so being all practical effects, like the creativity is on display because you're like, okay, well, this is actually impressive because in today's world, you just have everything would be digital.
Yeah.
It would all just be like,
And it would look like shit.
It wouldn't be impressive at all. But this looks like hella fun and again, just a masterclass of physical acting.
And then we get Ash kind of going face to face with Bad Ash.
I gotta say, for me, the comedy works because I'm just like, he's beating the shit out of himself, basically, smacking him, and Ash is like reacting like, oh my god, but then got the shotgun, shoots him in the face.
Bad Ash, good Ash. I'm the one with the gun.
Yeah, I'm the one with the gun. Yeah, man, this movie spawned so many one-liners, classic one-liners. It's crazy. In fact, the computer game Duke Nukem ended up ripping off Ash for all these lines. But Ash is a full-blown... Thank goodness we have Evil Dead 2 to bridge the gap a little bit, because if this went from Evil Dead 1 to this, it would be a jarring change of tone. But because Evil Dead 2 had the comedy, you kind of...
But it was still mostly horror.
Yeah, but at least enough comedy to where you're sort of okay with a huge change of tone. But Ash buries himself.
And then he finally finds the books. This movie feels like it's going by pretty fast for fantasy action.
Very fast. They cut all the meat off the bone in this one. This is just straight skin and bone here.
Oh shit.
81 lean minutes. You can't call it slow pace, that's for sure. He gets to the cemetery, and we have the three books.
Boats.
We have 3 sinking boats. No, we have 3 books, which apparently is going to play a big factor later on in the series. These 3 books.
Even though the other books none of the books look anything like what these books look like.
Yes, but there are 3 books, and Ash, of course, is going to pick the wrong books to begin with.
The first one he grabs, pulls them into a sinkhole, and he comes out with...
Where was he going if he didn't get out? Was he going back in time again or something? I don't know.
That would have been hilarious, just having to go through like some kind of video game-esque world, 2D world, just having to get from the opening area back to the ending, almost like Super Mario.
Thankfully, he gets out, but his face is different.
So he has to shake it.
He has to shake it till he gets the right face again. And this is this hilarious Three Stooges type stuff.
And then he starts going through the books, and I'm just thinking to myself, maybe the book on the top is probably our most important book.
Yeah, they never said Ash was the brightest bulb.
Yeah, well, he sticks his head.
Yeah.
Why would you... when you're going to reach for a book, I always reach like this. Maybe even one hand like this. Not to stick my finger in the mouth.
Well, he regrets it pretty quickly because it bites his hand, bites his neck, bites him all over.
I'm surprised that the book didn't bite his hands off.
I'm telling you, man, there's something here like, and especially if you think about the other Evil Dead movies that eventually we'll get into, there's certain movies where the books are really demonic and evil and like really sinister, but with Ash, they're just fun and games with him. I don't know.
And then we get our final book where he goes, yeah, I should have chose you first. You think?
But thankfully for everybody in this movie, he remembers he has to say the words.
Yes.
And now he's going to say first 2 words. On point. Good job, Ash. Now, what's that damn...
What's bad is he even said it.
Did he say the right one?
He said the right one. He said, oh, something Nick does. And I went, wait. And he was saying nicked and then went, wait.
He got it for a second, then he lost it.
Yeah, I'm just like, how do you forget us? Nicked us.
But he does realize it's got to be an N-word. Definitely an N-word. This is the first. Ash tries to pull a fast one with a demonic force. He looks at the sky. He coughs under his breath as he says some word.
I think he said nickels.
And then reaffirms to the world, well, that's it.
I said the words.
I said the words.
And the demonic force is like, really?
And what's funny is, after he says the wrong word, there's like a big thunder in the sky. It's like, that should be a hint. Like, that thunder's warning you, like, don't do it. Don't take the book.
And he takes a book, and then he gets into a slap fight with a bunch of skeleton hands.
Skeleton hands who are going to go through the entire Three Stooges routine of smacking them, punching them, poking them in the eye, beating the crap out of them. Ash is, unfortunately, through his actions, has risen.
Yes.
The Army of Darkness has risen. Which means Bad Ash is back. as our main villain.
It's kind of weird that our main villain happens to be some kind of joke originally, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Yeah, now I'm gonna kill everybody." It's like, really? Were you that pissed off of being dismembered?
And it's actually Bruce Campbell. It's his voice. It's Bruce Campbell.
Even during the actual fight scene, or
Well,
did they
no.
have to get somebody to play that?
Well, he's voicing it, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
but there's definitely.
Well, then we get back. He lets on that. No, I didn't say the words.
And the wise man immediately says,
You're an idiot.
"You idiot! You fool! You've doomed us all." It's the worst case scenario. And Ash is just like,
Are you gonna send me home, right?
now. This is the closest we're gonna get to like character moments in the movie. Ash is basically like,
Ash has been an asshole this whole movie.
he has been, even though I think he's always good intention. This is the point where he's like really an asshole because he's like, all right, so yeah, well, you're gonna send me back in time, right? That was the deal. And Arthur's, who's finally starting to turn into a decent human being, is like, all right,
Men over a word, we'll send you back, though you don't deserve it.
and you see all the people extremely disappointed in Ash. Sheila's like, I think you'll still help us, and Ash just looks like,
No.
I'm not that guy.
And then she gets taken by a flying demon.
Now, this made a lot of sense to me because it's bad Ash. So he's immediately like, okay, I want my queen.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he's going to target the women that good Ash is with.
Well, that part I'm fine with. What I'm trying to understand is what are all the other women that these skeletons kidnapped? Are they like pre-war warm-up or something?
I think we go down a very dark path if we try to explore what happened to those women because I don't think it's anything good. Okay, now again, another character moment because the town people, as I call them, at the kingdom, they're pretty much feeling like they're screwed. So
Well, because they are.
yeah, I mean, the debt has been unleashed and a lot of their men have fled.
And all the women have been kidnapped.
And they're thinking to skip town. They can get out of here. But Ash, apparently, it must have been Sheila getting kidnapped that turned his thing around. Because now he's like...
Which is weird to me. He never showed any real signs that he actually cared.
Yeah, but I think the part about him being the prophesized shows when finally clicked over in his brain. He said, I got to stay and help these people.
Okay, now we get our getting ready montage.
Credit to Ash because now in this one scene, you turn him from unlikable into a hero that we enjoy because not only is he going to stay, he's training the people and a fun training sequence. And the score is very fun and adventurous.
Why is he the one training in spear fighting when it should probably be the knights?
It's strictly because he's from the future because you can be the best spear fighter in the year 1300, but just by you not knowing the advancements of spear fighting, Ash, with just casual knowledge in 1980, knows more about spear fighting than the 1300 person. It's just like somebody who knows about cars in 1920 is not going to know more than somebody in 2015 knows about cars just by that person having lived in 2015 and seeing all the advancements. So and plus Ash he's watched a bunch of movies where they're spear fighting, so he knows what the latest technology is. So. All right, well, they've been trained. They're ready to go. And also, we should mention that Ash had the brilliant idea of...
Souping up his car.
You give him a chemistry book, he's going to put stuff together, apparently.
Now I guess we found out where his bullets have been this whole time.
In the trunk of his car.
Even how was he getting those teleported to him?
You know, what's funny is, you think about the idea of like, yeah, it's like his car was brought too, so it's like, yeah, what was in the car pretty much that could help, so.
You're telling me Ash is such a clutter brain while working at S-Mart that he brought all that shit that was in his trunk with him?
Yep.
Okay.
I was going to mention, he did have the bright idea to ask Henry's men for help. Now, there's a deleted scene apparently where he actually goes to... This is the stuff that was lost when... We'll get into it later on where things were cut out, but there's a scene of him going to actually ask Henry the Red to help, pretty much, and Henry the Red kind of leaving it in question, like, if he's going to help or not. That's why when he shows up at the end, it's supposed to be more of a... It's supposed to make more sense than him just showing up randomly.
Yeah, because the movie just has him showing up. It's like,
But
we knew he was going to.
Yeah, but it would have been much more interesting if he went to Henry for help, and Henry's like, "No, I don't think so." And then Henry shows up, would have been a little bit more what they were going for.
Impactful, yeah. But in this case, it just felt like, hey, it felt like a plan of theirs. Like, hey, if the dead actually break through the castle, then that means we have enough room for y'all to then come in, and we can flank the enemy.
Yeah, when they're losing, you don't feel the panic because you're like, oh wait, isn't Henry still showing up? Whereas if it's a surprise, then you're like, oh, they're really screwed. And oh, Henry actually came.
Yep.
So that got lost in there, but they did have that planned out a little better.
Yeah, so we get our castle fight. A lot of explosions, a lot of toy skellies just standing around being destroyed.
What's funny is the skeletons actually have personalities. They actually feel like actual soldiers. They're like complaining about different things and like
oh shit.
they're having conversations. Like it's just funny. They're not like generic skeletons. They're actually like talking to each other about like strategy and stuff. I love the whole end fight scene. I feel like
Could have been better.
I think it was amazing for what they had though.
Well, for what they had, it was good, but it still could have been better. Like, for some reason, when Ash was having to fight both Bad Ash and random Skelly Soldier, it looked funky.
But I thought, I think though it's realistic. Ash is not a fighter, so he's just
Well,
like.
apparently he is. He
he's
knows how to
all
use a spear.
That's true, but sword fighting is a different level of sword play is a different level of skill. I would think so.
Which also, question for you.
Yeah.
So, it pretty much throughout this whole fight, it ends with Ash using a torch to fight Bad Ash with the sword.
Yes.
We already proved Bad Ash with a sword is strong enough to break through a spear pole.
Yes.
Yeah, he's not strong enough to break through a torch pole?
No.
What did they reinforce this torch with? Steel?
Yes.
I thought it was made out of wax.
I don't know. This battle scene was also one thing that was unfortunately a casualty of the cutting because it was actually a longer, more drawn out thing that was edited down.
Honestly, I feel like that was probably for the better. I don't know how the original one went, but this was pretty long.
There was a lot more exploding skeletons.
I don't need to see another 15 minutes of exploding skeletons. Maybe if Jet Li randomly came down and just started beating the shit out of the skeletons, I would have seen that.
I love the whole ending. I would say that I would have liked to see more of Arthur and Henry fighting and stuff like that. It was a little bit too focused on Ash, but I understand why. It's kind of dark because a lot of their people die though. During the fight.
I think a few more than 60, even though that's what they started with.
A lot of them died, you could tell, but we do get the nice thing of like at the end, Arthur and Henry now come together and everybody's cool with each other.
Also, Sheila's alive. She's probably the only one besides Ash to survive a possession.
Yeah, I think about it, and even though it doesn't make sense she's alive, I'm like, in this kind of like sort of lighthearted type of movie, would you really want her to have been dead though?
Yes.
It's like, well,
he's leaving her anyway.
Yeah, but her dying would have been a lot more sadistic. So
he stabbed her and threw her off a castle wall.
That was the demon version of her. The demon version absorbed all that pain. And
so then why isn't all the people from parts 1 and 2 still alive?
Maybe they are in the TV show. They are alive, apparently. Some of them are in the TV show.
Because, like I said, if that's the case, then that means Demon, what's her name? Barbara or whatever the fuck the one that wasn't Cheryl or Linda did. Scotty's girlfriend. Why isn't she alive then? All her damage happened after she became a demon.
I get what you're saying. I just think that with the tone of this movie, for innocent Sheila just to have been killed would have been a downer of an ending.
She really wasn't all that innocent.
Work with me here for a second, all right? They're going for a happy ending on this one, not the Nick ending where it's like, oh yeah, of course her head was chopped off. Yeah, she's gone, so. Put that head back on and get back to work, girl. All right?
What are you, Markiplier playing Until Dawn? Trying to hook up Ashley and John?
I don't know what you're talking about at all, all right?
If any fans are Markiplier fans, they'll probably get it.
Fans may or may not know. I assume they know about, there's two different endings. There's the theatrical ending and then the alternative ending.
I didn't know. I don't even know the alternate ending of Lethal Weapon.
Actually, I don't know that either.
I don't think there is one.
What? Theatrical ending is the one we see in the movie, of course. He's back at S-Mart, narrating to his coworker.
Ted Raimi.
Was that Ted or Sam? That was Ted, right?
I'm pretty sure it was Ted.
I think it was Ted, yeah. Him and Sam look a lot alike. And, the coworker asked, like, did you say the words right this time?
More or less.
Sort of. Cue Deadite.
Right. So everything that happens in this day and age when it comes to Deadites is all Ash's fault.
This whole series is Ash's fault. This series is basically Ash screws up and then has to fix a screw up over and over again on repeat. But we do.
By the way, he was talking to I guess what do you call the damn things? Because he was talking to Sheila again. It's not ancestor because that's a dead person.
Huh?
Because he was talking to a girl that looked like Sheila at the end there.
Oh, you thought she looked like Sheila?
Yeah, wasn't that supposed to be what she was?
I don't think so. You thought it was the same actress? I don't think it was the same actress.
I don't think it was. It still looked somewhat similar to her. It was probably another Linda for all we know.
I think it was another Linda. So.
Another Linda?
I get the feeling Ash moves on from woman to woman without much care because he didn't even mention Annie in his flashback retelling. So.
That's fair. So anyway, he
Sheila's the new Annie, just no mention ever again. So
yeah, so Ash is now with a new Linda after flirting with her and saving her life.
killed Deadite.
Yep.
We get a happy ending that's going to lead later on in the TV show, but the original ending that Sam Raimi wanted was Ash having to
take 6 drops of a magic potion, sleep for 6 centuries.
Yep.
And then wake up in his car.
What could go wrong?
Easy. This fuck up apparently miscounted and counted 6 when he actually took 7 drops.
You had one job, Ash. One easy job. A kindergartner could have got this right, Ash.
So now we see the alternate future that we're going to be seeing, what was it, in 2081? Of everything destroyed and all piled up into one spot. How did the London Tower clock get with the San Francisco Bridge? I
don't know what alien race came and took over, but they fucked it up.
Yeah, they threw everything that was monumental to
worse than Independence
humans and threw it all in one spot.
So that would have led to a future sequel where Ash and robots would have went to town against the Deadites.
So there would be no love interest then? Because there would be robots.
Ash isn't a prejudice. One of the robots he would have got with, so.
But they were robots.
Ash would have found a way.
They were robots.
Give me some sugar, robot. Give me some robot sugar.
What that?
Anyways, but unfortunately, again, because the movie at the time, now again, just a little more behind the scenes where we're going to categories. So, when the movie was finished, apparently Dino De Laurentiis got into some big dispute with Universal over the rights to Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal. And because they were out of war for a little while, Army of Darkness got shelved for over a year. Sat on the shelf for a year. And after the year, finally that dispute was over and Universal got their hands on Army of Darkness and decided to make their own cut of that. Because the Raimi cut that was submitted to them was 96 minutes. And Universal is going to go in and chop it down to 81 minutes. So when we say the movie is like short, it's because a lot of stuff is cut out of here.
Yeah, it's just 15 minutes.
15 minutes in this kind of movie can make a big difference, though. 96 minutes feels like a normal length movie. This feels like you said, you noticed it felt like a short movie. You even said it. I'll make an exception. We'll throw the rules out the window. So.
throw the rules out the window, piss off my parents. It's fine.
Okay, so anyways. So yeah, basically now, thankfully, with today's technology, the director's cut is available on the Blu-ray, or the Blu-ray edition has it, actually. Not the one you have, but so you can watch that, and I plan to watch it also to see what these missing 50 minutes are. But I think the movie could use some more room to breathe a little bit. Even though it being lean actually does make it very to the point, which some people may prefer that faster pace. So Army of Darkness was the first Evil Dead movie I saw. I used to watch it on TV as a kid, as I think I've talked about. So I saw the TV version a bunch of times before I saw the actual version. So I have like a strong like childhood connection to Army of Darkness. As an adult, surprisingly, the comedy still works for me.
It's because it's slapstick.
It's slapstick, and like I feel like it just puts a smile on my face to watch the movie. It's it's 81 minutes, so it is super lean. So yes, more time could have been thrown into the plot, the character development. Certain things the movie is definitely missing. That's like, I'm not gonna give it 4 stars because it's definitely not a perfect movie. But it's a solid 3 stars for me because, one, I don't think there's any other movie that's exactly like this movie. It has a feel to it that's very unique and to its own. Kind of a turn your brain off and have a good time type movie. We nitpick because, we're doing an hour podcast, so we have to go over the stuff that doesn't make sense, and there's a lot of that, but it makes enough sense to be fun as hell, and the action works for me, the comedy works for me. This is probably the most iconic version of Ash, for sure. He's one-liner central here. Bruce Campbell
Groovy.
gives an iconic performance. You watch this movie and you're like, man, Bruce Campbell could have easily been a star for this movie, but it didn't make money at the box office, and then he never really starred in a big movie again. So solid 3 stars for me. Fun movie. I like it right there with Evil Dead 2. I like it better than the first one. I don't necessarily put it over Evil Dead 2, but I put it right there with Evil Dead 2.
So for me, it's kind of hard where I want to put this myself, because as much as I do like the fact that it's shorter, so we don't get a whole lot of downtime, we get a lot of scenes are actual constant laughing. You get a bunch of fun scenes, some good camera effects, some good physical effects.
Oh yeah, and I should mention too, the effects being practical effects are refreshing because you realize there's a lot of work put into the movie versus all computers.
Yeah, the only thing I wish that this movie did for me more is let us get more to know about these side characters.
Yeah.
Sure, they may be side characters, but I feel like we should have learned a little bit more about Sheila, seeing as how she is still somewhat prevalent to Ash, because her being taken was the reason he decided to stay and fight in the first place.
Do you know the actress actually had a great career after this?
Really?
She was in Schindler's List like the next year, which like won an Oscar for Best Picture, and then she had a movie with Denzel Washington called Fallen. Like she actually went on to bigger and better things. So,
Okay.
Well, bigger things.
then you also got Arthur again. Honestly, half the time I felt like we don't even need you. The wise man could have just played your character. We wouldn't have had Ash taken and put in the pit if we did, but...
Yeah, the wise man would have made all the good decisions, and the movie would have ended within 20 minutes. You need Arthur making all the bad decisions to extend the movie out. So
yeah, but still, I just felt like with Arthur, we could have... And I feel like his whole redemption part was just played down. We should have gotten a more of a redemption arc. Hell, have him die protecting Henry would have been a better way for him to go than...
But I would make the argument also, though, I don't like that stuff, but also there's nothing you would want to lose from Ash, though, either. You don't want to lose any of the Ash scenes.
Well, I'm not talking about...
So it's almost like it's adding to it, but you can see with the cast given where the focus is strictly pretty much on Ash.
Oh, yeah.
But I agree they could have done more with
But hell,
at least Sheila. So
yeah, but so overall, for me, even though I do like the length of it, it's obvious I also, now talking about it, I needed a little longer. So for me,
you may want to check out the director's cut. Too.
I need to. So until I check out the director's cut, my views may change. But at the moment, I think I'm going to have to just stick with a 2.5.
So far, we haven't given any movie in the series a bad review yet. So far it's known for its consistency, and so far it's delivering with the first 3 movies. Next week we'll have 2013's remake.
Yes.
So that'll be interesting to go into that. So, all right, folks. Until next week.
Don't die.